You ever get that post-lunch slump, that sudden brain fog that hits you right after a big meal? Well, it turns out those feelings aren't just in your head. I mean, okay, technically they are, but they're not random. The food you eat is directly pulling the strings. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how. So let's kick things off with a pretty wild thought experiment. What if you could take your brain and just suck all the water out of it? What would actually be left? What are the physical building blocks of our thoughts, our feelings, our memories? Well, you're looking at the answer right now. The vast majority of your brain's dry weight is fat or lipids, and the rest, it's a mix of proteins, amino acids, and a handful of other micronutrients. The key thing to realize here is that these aren't some weird abstract chemicals. Nope, this is the stuff we literally put on our plates every single day. So what this really means is that every single ingredient we eat has a direct, tangible impact on how our brain works, how it develops, what our mood is like, and even our energy levels. The connection is absolutely undeniable. Okay, so let's dive right into our first section, the brain's building blocks. We're going to explore the two main materials that make up the physical structure of your brain, fats and proteins. First up are fats. Specifically, essential fatty acids. Now, that word essential is key because it means our bodies can't just make them from scratch. We have to get them from our food. They are the literal bricks and mortar for our brain's cell membranes. And the real superstars of the fat world? You've heard of them, omega-3 and 6. Eating foods that are rich in these, we're talking nuts, seeds, fatty fish, is critical. Not just for building your brain in the first place, but for keeping it in good shape and even helping to ward off degenerative conditions down the road. So you can really think of it like this. You've got two teams of fats. The good ones, like the omegas, are on your team. They build, they protect, they maintain. But on the other side, a diet high in trans and saturated fats can actually work against you, compromising your brain's health over the long term. Now, the other major building block is protein. Proteins themselves are made up of amino acids, and these amino acids are the raw materials for neurotransmitters. Think of neurotransmitters as your brain's tiny little text messengers, zipping around carrying signals that control pretty much everything: your mood, your sleep, how well you can focus. And you have totally felt this in real life, right? That cozy, satisfied, kind of sleepy feeling after a big bowl of pasta, or that sharp, alert feeling you get after a protein-heavy meal. That is not your imagination. That is the food you ate directly tweaking those neurotransmitters. All right, so we've covered the building blocks, but every great structure needs a support crew, right? Well, let's meet them. These are the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals that protect your brain and help the whole operation run smoothly. And first up, we have antioxidants. Honestly, the absolute best way to think of these guys is as your brain's own personal security team. You find these bodyguards in colorful fruits and vegetables, and they have one main job: to fight off these nasty little molecules called free radicals. Now, free radicals are just a natural byproduct of our metabolism, but left unchecked, they can damage our brain cells. By neutralizing them, antioxidants literally help your brain work well for longer. Then we've got the B vitamins, things like B6, B12, and folic acid. And this isn't just about getting a little energy boost. A real deficiency here can leave our brains vulnerable to disease and mental decline. Seriously, they are absolutely non-negotiable for brain health. And hey, it's not just vitamins. Minerals like iron, copper, zinc, and sodium are also fundamental. Take iron, for example. It's crucial for making those neurotransmitters we talked about, and for building the protective coating around our nerve fibers. Even small deficiencies, especially early in life, can have a huge impact. So we've built the structure and we've hired the support crew. But what about the power to run this whole thing? In our final section, let's look at how the brain gets its massive supply of energy. Now get ready for this, because this statistic is wild. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, just 2%. But it burns through a whopping 20% of your body's total energy. It is an incredibly power-hungry organ. So where does it get all this juice? The brain's preferred fuel source is glucose, which is just blood sugar, and we get that from eating carbohydrates. In fact, the parts of your brain responsible for problem-solving and focus are so sensitive to dips in glucose that a change in your mental function is one of the first signs you're not getting enough. But as we've all experienced, not all carbs are created equal, not by a long shot. Depending on the type you eat, you can send your brain on a wild glucose roller coaster. And here's what that roller coaster looks like. A high glycemic food, like white bread, causes this huge, rapid spike in glucose. You get a quick burst of energy, and then comes the crash. And it takes your attention span and mood right down with it. Now compare that to low glycemic oats. See that? A much slower, steadier release of energy for sustained focus. That's the good stuff. It really all comes down to the three forms of carbs: starch, sugar, and fiber. The secret sauce is the ratio of sugar to fiber. Think of fiber as the brakes. It slows down how quickly your body absorbs the sugar, which prevents that big spike and that awful crash. The more fiber, the more stable your energy. Okay, we've seen the building blocks, we've met the support crew, and we've talked about the fuel source, so let's bring it all home. What's the ultimate takeaway here? Look, the takeaway is crystal clear. For sustained brain power, for a stable mood, and for long-term brain health, a varied diet is absolutely critical. You need that healthy mix of good fats, quality proteins, and complex carbs to keep your brain structure sound and its communication lines open. I want to leave you with this powerful thought, which comes directly from the research. Every single time you eat, you are making a choice that has a direct and long-lasting effect on the most powerful organ in your body. Let that sink in for a second. Which really just leaves us with one simple but profound question to think about before your next meal. What will you choose to feed your brain?